My name is Austin Roger. I always believed that hard work could build anything. For a long time, it did. I started Neuralink with two of my closest friends, Liam Cross and Jake Turner. We were unstoppable, three kids with big dreams and sleepless nights, turning code and coffee into something worth millions. I trusted them like brothers. We laughed, fought, and built our empire brick by brick. Before I tell you how I got my revenge, hit that like button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. I remember the day our company hit its first 100 million. Liam hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Jake said, "We're family now, Austin." I believed him. Looking back, I wish I had seen the cracks forming, the secret meetings, the late-night whispers that stopped when I walked into the room. But I was too blinded by pride, too sure of our bond to notice the storm coming. Neuralink wasn't just a business. It was my life. My purpose. My family. And soon, I would learn that the people you build with, can be the same ones who tear you down. It started small. Little things I brushed off because I didn't want to believe what they meant. Liam stopped returning my late-night calls. Jake began handling investor meetings without telling me. When I asked, they said, "You're overthinking, Austin. Relax." So, I did. I trusted them, because that's what friends do. Then, one evening, I stayed late at the office. Through the glass wall of the conference room, I saw Liam and Jake talking in low voices. There was tension in the air, and when they noticed me, their smiles came too quickly. That night, I couldn't sleep. My gut told me something was wrong, but my heart refused to listen. After all, these were the men who helped me build everything. If you like our revenge stories, please subscribe for more. We drop powerful new stories every week, filled with truth, emotion, and justice. Don't miss the next one. And remember, some stories hurt, but they heal too. Subscribe now, and join the journey. A week later, I found an unsigned contract on my desk, something about restructuring shares. I confronted Liam, but he laughed. "It's just paperwork, man. You don't need to worry about it." So, I didn't. I signed it. That one signature, the one I thought meant nothing, was the beginning of everything I'd lose. If I had known what they were planning, I would have burned that paper before it ever reached a pen. I still remember the night it all came crashing down. It was raining hard, the kind of storm that makes the whole city feel heavy. I was in my apartment, half asleep, when my phone started buzzing non-stop. "Check the news," one message said. Then another. Then 10 more. When I opened the article, my chest went cold. Neuralink announces leadership change, Roger steps down. Steps down. I hadn't stepped anywhere. My hands shook as I read the press release. Liam and Jake were listed as the new CEOs. My name was gone, completely erased. They'd used the papers I signed to transfer my shares, my position, even my rights to the company. I called them over and over. No answer. When I finally drove to the office, security stopped me at the door. "You're not on the list anymore, sir." I laughed at first. Then I realized it wasn't a joke. In one night, I lost everything, my company, my friends, and my purpose. Standing in the rain, watching the lights of my own building fade behind me, I swore to myself. If they thought they could take my life and walk away, they were wrong. The days that followed felt like a blur I couldn't wake up from. One moment, I was a CEO worth millions. The next, I was a nobody with nothing. My phone stopped ringing. Partners who once called me visionary wouldn't return a single text. Investors pulled out, saying, "It's out of our hands." Even the team I had mentored avoided eye contact when we crossed paths downtown. I went home to find eviction papers on my desk. My apartment, once paid for by company funds, no longer mine. My credit cards stopped working. My accounts were frozen. Liam and Jake had taken everything, even my salary. I sat there in the dark that night, surrounded by silence. The city outside kept moving, but my world had stopped. I kept asking myself the same question: how could they? I built everything with them, every deal, every dream. I never imagined betrayal could feel like losing a part of your own body. For weeks, I disappeared. No calls. No plans. Just anger, pain, and disbelief. But deep inside that silence, something began to stir. They thought they had destroyed me. But all they did was light the fuse. For a long time, I lived in the shadows of my own failure. Every night, I replayed their laughter in my head, the way Liam shook my hand, the way Jake said, "Trust me, brother." Those words haunted me more than the loss itself. Then one night, something changed. I was walking past an electronics store when I saw my company's logo flashing on a giant screen. My company. My idea. My name, erased from everything I created. And that was the moment I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I went back to my tiny rented room, sat down with my old laptop, and wrote 3 words on a blank page: "They owe me." That became my purpose. Not to cry. Not to beg. But to take back what was mine. I spent days digging through old files, contracts, and messages. The more I read, the clearer their plan became. They'd been setting me up for months. I wasn't just betrayed. I was played. But if they thought I'd stay quiet, they didn't know me at all. They stole my fortune. They stole my name. Now, I was going to steal back my power. When you've lost everything, the only thing left to fear is yourself. That's what I learned. My first move wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet. Careful. Calculated. I started by calling old contacts, people who still believed in me, even if they couldn't say it out loud. Most didn't answer. But one did. Her name was Maya, an old colleague who had left Neuralink months before the betrayal. When I told her what happened, she didn't sound surprised. "Austin," she said softly, "I warned you about them." She wasn't wrong. I had ignored every red flag. But Maya didn't gloat. She offered help. "You taught me everything I know," she said. "Let me return the favor." Over the next few weeks, we worked in secret. She showed me leaked reports, financial trails, and private deals. Liam and Jake weren't just greedy, they were laundering my company's funds through fake accounts overseas. That was my proof. The first piece of the puzzle I needed to take them down. For the first time in months, I felt alive again. They thought I was gone. But I was watching, waiting, and planning. And soon, I'd make my first real strike. Maya and I spent countless nights piecing together what really happened. Every document, every email, every small clue felt like another wound reopening. But the truth had to be seen, even if it hurt. One evening, while going through a flash drive Maya found in an old office drawer, I stumbled upon a hidden folder. Inside were scanned contracts, payment receipts, and messages between Liam and Jake. My name was everywhere, used, erased, and replaced. One message burned into my mind: once he signs, it's over. He won't even know what hit him. That line broke me. I stared at it until the screen blurred. The friends I trusted most hadn't made a mistake, they'd planned my downfall from the start. Maya looked at me with quiet anger. "You still want revenge?" she asked. I nodded slowly. "No," I said. "I want justice." That night, we backed up everything, encrypting every file. I knew this evidence could destroy them, but I wasn't ready to go public yet. No, not yet. They took their time tearing me apart. Now, I'd take my time putting them in the ground, one truth at a time. My hands shook as I followed the money. The files showed a path that looked like a spider web. Accounts, shell companies, small transfers that became big ones. Liam and Jake were careful, but not careful enough. They left fingerprints in the wrong places. Maya and I spent days tracing names, matching invoices, and calling old bankers. Each call felt like stepping into a minefield. We found a chain of companies in 3 countries. Most paths ended at a private bank in Zurich under the name Blue Line Holdings. Zurich. The word made my throat tight. I had never been there, but I knew what it meant: secrecy, safety, a place where money hides. Liam thought money would protect him. He forgot that paper trails could be followed. We kept everything quiet. If I leaked it now, they would bury the evidence deeper. So we watched, mapped, and waited. I learned how to read ledgers that once bored me to sleep. Now they were my map to the men who stole my life. When Maya said, "We can bring them down," I felt something I thought I'd lost: hope. Hope tasted like cold steel and sugar. I would not stop now. Weeks passed, and the deeper I dug, the more of myself I found missing. Liam and Jake hadn't just stolen my money, they had erased my name from everything I had built. I searched the web one night, typing "Austin Roger Neuralink" into the bar. The results stung. Every article, every profile, every trace of me had been rewritten. Liam was now called the visionary founder. Jake was the architect of success. And me? A former employee. I stared at the screen until my reflection blurred into the glass. That's when it hit me: this wasn't just betrayal. It was identity theft. They hadn't only taken my fortune. They'd stolen my story. Maya found me the next morning, still awake. "You okay?" she asked softly. "No," I whispered. "But I will be. If they could rewrite history, so could I. But mine would be written in truth, not lies." We started gathering voices, old colleagues, employees who had seen the betrayal unfold but were too scared to speak. Bit by bit, my name began to take shape again. They could silence me for a while. But ghosts don't stay buried forever. And I was done being quiet. Every revenge starts as a whisper before it becomes a storm. Mine began on a whiteboard in Maya's small apartment. Scribbles, dates, names, arrows, the whole betrayal mapped out like a crime scene. Because that's what it was. We planned every move carefully. No police yet. No lawyers. Just us. If I went public too early, they'd spin the story, make me look unstable. They still had power, money, and media connections. But I had truth, and patience. Maya said, "You need proof that can't be denied." She was right. Words could be twisted, but numbers couldn't lie. So, I built a plan around exposure. Quietly, I contacted a few journalists I trusted back when I was somebody. One of them, a reporter named Carla, agreed to listen, off record. I sent her a fraction of the evidence: forged contracts, hidden accounts, their signatures next to mine. Her reply came minutes later: "Austin, if this is real, it's going to shake everything." That was the moment I felt the shift. For months, they'd controlled the story. But soon, the world would hear my side, the truth. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was hunting justice. The morning the article dropped, I woke up to chaos. My phone was buzzing non-stop, messages flooding in, some from old friends, others from strangers who had once doubted me. The headline hit like thunder: "Betrayal at Neuralink, secret documents reveal founder's deception." Carla had done it. She didn't use my name, but anyone who knew the story could read between the lines. The evidence was undeniable: the forged contracts, the offshore accounts, the dates that matched my fall. By noon, the news had spread everywhere. Social media exploded. Liam and Jake issued a statement calling it fake news. But the damage was done. The world was asking questions, and for the first time since they took everything, I wasn't the one hiding. Maya called, her voice trembling. "Austin, it's working." I looked out my window at the city below. "No," I said quietly. "It's starting." That day, I realized power isn't about money or titles. It's about truth, and once it's out there, you can't bury it again. The first leak was just the crack in their perfect image. And soon, I was going to shatter it completely. It didn't take long for Liam and Jake to strike back. By the next morning, their lawyers had flooded the media with threats and denials. They called the article a malicious fabrication and hinted that I was the source. My phone buzzed again, this time, not with messages of support but with warnings. A friend from inside Neuralink texted, "They're coming for you." By noon, I got a letter from their legal team. A cease and desist. They accused me of defamation and demanded I reveal my accomplices. I could almost hear Liam's smug voice behind every line, thinking he could scare me into silence again. But fear wasn't part of me anymore. I'd lost too much already. I called Carla. "They're fighting back," I said. She laughed softly. "Good. That means we hit them where it hurts." Still, the pressure was real. Rumors spread fast, that I was bitter, unstable, obsessed. The same people who once shook my hand now avoided eye contact. It stung, but I reminded myself, truth always walks alone before it wins. This was no longer just revenge. It was survival. And I was done playing their game. A week after the article, I got an anonymous message that changed everything. "You don't know the whole story. Meet me tonight, parking lot behind the old train station. Come alone." I almost deleted it, thinking it was bait. But something about the wording, it felt desperate, not threatening. That night, I went. Rain poured, streetlights flickered, and then a figure stepped from the shadows. It was Evan. My former intern. He looked nervous, soaked, clutching a flash drive. "Mr. Roger." I didn't know what they were doing. At first, I thought it was just business. My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" "They used your work, your algorithms," he said, his voice shaking. "They changed the files, moved money through dummy accounts. But there's more. They're hiding millions in shell companies, and using your name on old records." The words hit like ice water. They'd not only stolen from me, they were still using me as cover. Evan pressed the flash drive into my hand. "Everything's on here. Please, make it right." As he disappeared into the rain, I realized this was the key. The proof I needed to destroy them completely. And this time, they wouldn't see me coming. I drove home gripping the flash drive like it was my heartbeat. My hands trembled as I slid it into my laptop. Thousands of files appeared, bank statements, internal memos, encrypted transfers. Evan hadn't lied. There it was, a network of fake companies, each connected to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, Singapore, and Malta. And every single one traced back to projects I'd designed. My name, my email, my digital signature, used as camouflage for their theft. I felt sick. This wasn't just betrayal, it was identity theft on a global scale. Liam and Jake hadn't just erased me, they'd repurposed me. Buried deep in one folder, I found invoices labeled, Private Client, AR. My initials. The total amount? $775 million. The same number they'd bragged about when they'd sold the company. My vision blurred. They'd made it look like I was part of it all, ensuring that if anyone dug too deep, I'd take the fall. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding, anger burning like wildfire. They'd used my genius to build their empire of lies. Now, I'd use the truth to burn it to the ground. And I'd start with the one thing they feared most, exposure. I didn't sleep that night. Every click of the mouse pulled me deeper into their web of lies. By dawn, I had enough evidence to ruin 3 careers and start a dozen investigations. But evidence alone wasn't enough, I needed timing, precision, impact. I spent the next week creating a plan. I backed up the files to encrypted drives, hid copies in cloud accounts under false names, and printed hard documents sealed in brown envelopes. If they tried to bury me again, the truth would still surface. Next, I reached out to an old contact, Jordan Lee, a data analyst turned whistleblower who'd once exposed a major tech fraud. When I told him what I had, he whistled low. "You're sitting on a bomb, Austin. You sure you're ready for this?" "I've been ready since the night they destroyed me," I said. We agreed to meet in 3 days. He'd help me verify everything, make sure it was airtight before going public. As I prepared the final dossier, a strange calm washed over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting, I was controlling the story. They thought they'd taken my power. But I was only just learning how to use it. The night before my meeting with Jordan, I got another message, this time, no name, just a phone number I didn't recognize. "Stop what you're doing, Austin. You don't know who you're dealing with." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. I'd changed my number months ago. Only a few trusted people had it. Somehow, they still found me. Minutes later, a black car slowed outside my apartment. The windows were tinted, the engine idling too long. My pulse raced. I closed the curtains, turned off the lights, and sat in the dark, waiting. After a few minutes, the car pulled away, but I knew this wasn't random. They were watching. I called Jordan immediately. "They know," I said. He didn't sound surprised. "Of course they do. That's how scared they are. You've got them cornered. But what if they destroy the files before I release them?" Jordan paused. "Then we go nuclear. You leak everything at once." As I hung up, I looked at my laptop screen glowing in the dark. My reflection stared back, tired, angry, determined. They could scare me. They could follow me. But they couldn't stop what was already in motion. I met Jordan at a small diner on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one asked questions and the coffee never stopped pouring. He sat in the corner booth, hood pulled low, tapping a pen against his notebook. When I handed him the flash drive, his expression hardened. "You weren't exaggerating," he murmured. "This is massive, Austin. International transfers, government contracts, offshore laundering. If this goes public, people are going to prison." Hearing it out loud made my chest tighten. "Then let's do it." He shook his head. "Not yet. We need to protect you first. These men have lawyers, investors, politicians. You're the scapegoat in every file. Once they realize you're behind the leak, they'll come for you hard." I looked out the diner window. A silver SUV slowed across the street, same model as the one from last night. My jaw clenched. They already are. Jordan slid a burner phone across the table. "From now on, we only talk through this. Keep moving. Stay unpredictable." I nodded, gripping the phone. The waitress refilled our cups, unaware our conversation could ruin empires. This was bigger than revenge now. It was survival against giants. 2 days after the diner meeting, Jordan vanished. He was supposed to call at noon. By 5, nothing. I tried the burner phone, no answer. I emailed him from an encrypted address, still silence. The next morning, I drove to his apartment. Door unlocked. Lights off. Laptop gone. Only one thing remained on his kitchen table, a small envelope with my name on it. Inside was a note, written in shaky handwriting. "They found me. Don't trust anyone. Release everything if I don't make contact in 48 hours. My chest went cold. I read the words again and again, hoping I'd misunderstood. But I knew exactly what it meant. I checked the parking lot. A dark sedan idled nearby, engine humming. My gut screamed run. I slipped the note into my jacket and walked calmly to my car. As soon as I turned the corner, I floored it. That night, I didn't go home. I drove until sunrise, switching motels twice, watching every shadow like it might move. Jordan was gone, and that meant I was next. They wanted silence. They wanted fear. But all they'd done was prove one thing. I was getting closer to the truth. The third night on the run, I returned to my apartment to grab a few essentials, old IDs, backup drives, cash I'd hidden in the wall. The hallway was dark, too quiet. My key slid in easily, but the door was already unlocked. Every instinct screamed danger. Inside, chaos. Drawers pulled out, papers shredded, laptop gone. My life, violated again. They'd searched everything but missed one thing, the decoy flash drive I'd left under a loose floorboard. The real files were hidden somewhere no one would think to look. In the corner of the room, a single cigarette still smoked in the ashtray. Someone had just been there. My pulse thundered as I backed away, checking every shadow. Then I saw it, scratched into my kitchen counter with a key, stop digging. My legs went weak, but anger steadied me. They wanted me scared. They wanted me to give up. But they'd already taken too much. I grabbed the decoy drive, stuffed a few clothes into a bag, and walked out without looking back. They could destroy my home, erase my past, and chase me across the map. But they couldn't kill the one thing left in me. Purpose. I spent the next 48 hours hiding in a cheap motel outside the city. The air smelled of dust and fear. I hadn't eaten, barely slept. My mind replayed Jordan's note, the break-in, the cigarette smoke, proof that they were closing in. It was time. At 3 a.m., I connected my laptop to a secured network and uploaded everything, the real files, the bank records, the contracts, the encrypted emails. Then, with one deep breath, I hit send all. Within seconds, the data spread across servers worldwide. Journalists, regulators, whistleblower groups, every contact I'd built over a decade received a copy. I even included a statement, signed with my name. My name is Austin Roger. They stole my work, my company, and my identity. Now, the truth belongs to everyone. When the upload completed, I sat back, shaking. For the first time in years, I wasn't hiding. The story wasn't theirs to twist anymore, it was out there, alive, untouchable. A knock hit the motel door. Slow. Heavy. My heartbeat stopped. I turned off the lights and stared at the handle. Whoever was out there, they were too late. The truth was already free. The knocking grew louder. 3 sharp hits, then silence. I held my breath, staring at the door through the dim motel light. A shadow shifted under the crack, boots, at least 2 pairs. I grabbed my bag and slipped through the bathroom window, landing hard in the gravel behind the building. My lungs burned as I ran into the dark. Tires screeched moments later. They'd found me. Headlights cut across the field as I sprinted toward the highway. My phone buzzed, a message from Maya. Austin, it's everywhere. You did it. They're panicking. Relief hit like lightning. The truth was spreading faster than they could bury it. I ducked behind a billboard as an SUV roared past, its beams slicing the night. From my spot in the dirt, I watched the horizon glow faintly with morning light. Somewhere out there, the world was learning what Liam and Jake had done. Their empire was cracking, piece by piece. I took one deep breath, then started walking toward the next town. No car, no plan, just the sound of distant sirens and the weight of freedom in my chest. They could chase me all they wanted. But they'd never catch the truth. By sunrise, the world had changed. Every major network carried the story. Headlines screamed betrayal, fraud, embezzlement. Liam and Jake's faces filled the screens, two men who'd built their kingdom on stolen work. Reporters camped outside Neuralink's headquarters. Investors demanded answers. Stock prices collapsed within hours. Every statement they released only made things worse. The evidence was undeniable. I watched it unfold from a diner off the highway, coffee growing cold beside me. Maya called, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and pride. "Austin, you did it. You actually did it." I didn't feel triumph, not yet, just exhaustion. Years of silence, pain, humiliation, all bleeding out in real time. "They'll pay," she said. "They already are," I answered quietly. "But this isn't over. Justice doesn't end with exposure." Authorities had begun investigations. Warrants were being prepared. My name, my real name, was finally being spoken again, not as a traitor or fool, but as the man who told the truth. Still, I couldn't shake the thought of Jordan. His silence haunted the victory. They'd taken so much from me. And even as the world turned against them, I knew. The cost of truth was never free. 2 weeks later, the arrests began. Liam was taken first, handcuffed outside his mansion while cameras flashed like judgment. Jake turned himself in the next day, face pale, voice shaking as he called it a misunderstanding. But the evidence spoke louder than either of them ever could. When the footage aired, I didn't cheer. I just sat there, staring at the screen, numb. I'd imagined this moment for years, thought it would feel like victory. Instead, it felt like grief. They'd ruined me, yes. But somewhere deep down, I'd once called them brothers. I couldn't erase that, no matter how hard I tried. Maya came over that evening, holding 2 coffees. "It's over," she said softly. I shook my head. "No. It's justice. Over is something else." Outside, the city roared with headlines and outrage. But inside, there was only quiet, finally, peaceful quiet. I walked to the window, watching the night lights blur. The world knew the truth. My name was mine again. For the first time, I allowed myself to breathe. Revenge hadn't healed me. Truth had. And maybe that was enough. But part of me still wondered. What would I become without the fight? Months passed, and the dust began to settle. Neuralink was in ruins. The company's board replaced Liam and Jake with independent trustees. Lawsuits piled up, and the stolen funds were frozen pending recovery. My name appeared in articles not as a victim, but as the whistleblower who exposed the fraud. I found a small office space downtown and reopened my own startup. Nothing flashy, just a team I trusted, working late nights to create something real again. Each line of code, each meeting, each decision reminded me that I still had control over my life. Friends reached out, old colleagues, investors, even journalists I hadn't spoken to in years. They didn't see me as broken. They saw me as resilient, focused, unshakable. At night, I'd sit on the rooftop of my office building, looking at the city skyline. The memories of betrayal still lingered, the broken trust, the stolen $775 million, the humiliation, but they no longer held power over me. I wasn't the same man I had been. I was sharper, wiser, tempered by fire. And as I planned the next chapter, I knew one thing with certainty. No one would ever take my work, my identity, or my peace again. Not ever. And I would never forget the lessons the fight had taught me. A year had passed since the storm. Liam and Jake were facing long legal battles, their empire crumbled, and the stolen $775 million was slowly being recovered. The world knew the truth, and I had finally found peace. My company was growing steadily, built on trust, talent, and integrity, the principles Liam and Jake had shattered but could not take from me. I mentored young engineers, sharing not just skills, but the lessons of vigilance and resilience. I wanted them to know that brilliance alone wasn't enough, character mattered. I walked through my office one evening, watching my team laugh over a shared joke. The atmosphere was warm, human, alive. It reminded me of what I had fought for: respect, honesty, and the right to build something truly mine. Maya stood beside me, smiling. "You've come a long way," she said. I nodded, thinking of every betrayal, every sleepless night, every moment of fear. All of it had led here. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. The past would always be part of me, but it no longer defined me. Austin Roger, the man they tried to destroy, had reclaimed everything: his work, his reputation, his life. And the future? That was mine to write. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more powerful narratives, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what part hit you the hardest. Thanks for watching.